Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now. Khamzat Chimaev, right? He recently did an interview, and the headline reads, Khamzat Chimaev triggered by comparisons to Khabib, right? And obviously, if you're from that region, and I don't think that this is something new. Like they've been comparing, or they've been trying to find the next Khabib ever since Khabib retired, or maybe even before he retired, right? They're like, who's going to be the
Right.
next one to carry the torch and all of that. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's going to be a never ending topic of discussion. Khabib will always live in the history books of mixed martial arts, UFC, because he's the only one that has gone undefeated, and then retired at the top.
Yeah.
The only maybe the closest to that, there is no closest to that. There's just him, right? Could he have done accomplished more? Yes, right? Has he accomplished the most? No, not even close. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? You could argue that Islam has accomplished more than Habib at this point, right?
He's definitely had some more epic fights, that's
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, and way more exciting as well, right? Like if you think of about fighting styles, right? Way more.
Mm-hmm.
When there's dominant, yes, but exciting and winning,
Right.
like people are gonna want the UFC wants exciting winning more than dominant. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's what they want. So he's triggered by these comments. Let me find the actual comments that he said.
Mm.
All right, let me find this.
Let me see.
Let me see. Okay, so it says, I just broke into the UFC and they started comparing me to Habib and other fighters. And that's true, right? Because remember when he came in, he fought like 3 times in like 3 days or something crazy, right? Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
um, and he says, but everyone has their own achievement. I've got mine. Habib and every other fighter wants to create their own legacy, right? So basically, so it doesn't feel good to be compared to anybody else. I just got triggered by, as someone said, that Habib would smash me. So I responded to the dude. Although, you see, that's the thing, is when you start getting compared to somebody, it doesn't matter who it is. When they start talking shit to you about it, that's when you get triggered. And I understand what Hamzat is saying, right? Like,
Yeah.
I just started off, and just because we're from the same region of the world, and you want to compare me to this person, and he's saying
Right.
like, yo, I'm my own person, like, and you coming to me and saying that Habib would smash me, like, dude, Hamzat is massive. Habib is a 155er, right? Like,
Yeah.
maybe,
They're fighting
yeah,
two
it's
different
it's
weight
it's
divisions. Yeah.
yeah, complete, like, multiple weight division difference, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what do you think of Hamzat being triggered? I understand it.
Yeah, I get it. Like when you enter the fight game, or like I I see this with people who progress towards being some of the best in the world at something. It's like they don't want to live in somebody's shadow.
Yeah.
They definitely did not train 2 or 3 times a day, 13, 14, 15, 17 times a week or whatever, to be like, oh, you're the second version of this other guy who might have done really well,
Mm.
but that's not the point, right? It's like Kobe Bryant definitely did not want to be like, oh, you're the second version of Michael Jordan. He's like, no, I'm the first version of Kobe Bryant. So it's like if you compare it on that level, there's some innate feeling or sense of I want to be a trailblazer, I want to be a pioneer, and I want to carve my own path in this game. I don't want to be under somebody else's shadow. So that seems to be the common personality type the farther up you go into the game. Even though like sometimes I like in this case I don't think this is true, but sometimes it comes from a good place where it's like, damn, you're so good, you're like another Khabib, or like you're like another Yoel Romero or something.
Mm.
Like one of my training partners here was like, dude, you're like an Asian Yoel Romero or something, which like I took as a compliment, don't get me wrong, but I know, because I know where it's coming from. There, it's just coming from a place of admiration. But if we're coming from a place of like, let me look at accomplishments, let me figure this out, then that's you want to be your own person if that's the case. Like anyone who's a little brother and has a high achieving older brother immediately
Mm.
knows that, like, if they want to, if they want to feel some kind of sense of self identity, then they've got to come out of their older brother's shadow. And so there's a bit of that at play here.
Yeah, if you compare it, like you said, Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, right? Like Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan. Like he's the greatest of all time. Like there's
Hmm.
barely any arguments for that, right? But they played in different eras, right? They
Hmm.
did play in a little couple of year where they played in the same at the same time, right? But that was you can't even you gotta take that off. Like Jordan was his era of the '90s, right? That was the
Hmm.
time. Okay, Kobe's the 2000s, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you compare it to them, it is similar to that, where you're being bombarded with like comparisons and like stylistically kind of similar to if he
Hmm.
actually did wrestle more, right? He could probably fight just like Habib if he wanted to, right?
Yeah.
But he need to make his style a little bit different, and he's just not the same. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's weird, man. I think that Hamzat, he if he stays healthy, I think he surpasses anything Habib did. This is
Hmm.
just my belief. I think he has the style, he has the skill set to go in, especially in that middleweight division, to smash a lot of people, right?
Hmm.
And and I think he will surpass Habib. I think a lot of people don't like that statement, but
Hmm.
it possibly he's on his way to make it a truth, right? He still hasn't lost a fight.
Right. Right. And I've heard he also made a few changes with how he approaches training and
Yeah.
stuff. So like he doesn't run himself into the ground now, or not nearly as much. And that would explain a lot of the health issues that he would have had, because like he'd be stressing his
Mm.
body so much that it's like, all right, now your immune system doesn't have a fighting chance. And so I think we might see a more active Hamzat, if he can, stay on a healthy trajectory. So that'll be interesting to see, kind of like how it unfolds over the next years.
Yeah, and also, like I said, it's different eras too. Like when Habib fought compared to like right now, it's only getting tougher and tougher,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
competition. Like
Hmm.
there's guys that you thought entering the UFC, like these guys, man, they're so good. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna go in there and just kill it. They're gonna be top 10. They don't even make it to
Right.
the middle of the division. They're already
Yeah.
cut. You know what I mean? Like it's how ruthless it is right now these days.
Hmm.
And what Hamza has done so far is very impressive, especially when he first jumped onto the scene. Um, with Habib, like I was there through his whole run as well. You know what I mean? Watching the UFC, and Hamzat's excitement factor is so much higher than
Mm.
Habib ever was. Yes,
Yeah.
Habib was that first guy with the undefeated record and like that region, and he actually pushed that region into the spotlight, and he has the support of the Middle East and Europe and all that. But
Hmm.
when you look at that pure fighting, I think Hamzat is going to be the man. I just think if he stays healthy, I think he's going to be the man. I just like I can't wait to see him and Drickus fight. Like
Ooh.
that, a fight like that. Like he's gonna fight with Robert Whitaker next, right? Um,
Right.
I think he beats Robert Whitaker. I think I think we'll see a really good Hamzat in that fight, and like a Hamzat that's gonna prove that he belongs. You know what I mean? Like I think being out and going through all this like medical issues, it's only gonna fuel the fire for him.